And welcome back. My name is Brady. This is Be All In Sports. We're back with a little bit different look now, and we are doing the same exact thing though. We're breaking down UFC Kansas City. That's right. It's coming up this weekend. We had a week layoff. We've got Ian Machado Garry taking on Carlos Prates. This is going to be a phenomenal fight. I'm super excited about this whole card. I can't wait to break this one down. I uh I love both of these fighters. I like both, and I like watching both of them fight. I'm not an Ian Machado Gary hater. So I have love for both of these fighters, and I think it's going to be a great one. This whole card's pretty good, so we are going to get right into breaking this card down for you. UFC KC, here we go. Let's do it. All right, the first fight of the night, we have Chelsea Chandler taking on Jocelyn Edwards. This is going to be a women's bantamweight matchup. Chandler's coming in with a record of 6-3. Edwards is coming in 14-6. Edwards had that finish on in her last matchup against Tamiris Vidal, and Chelsea Chandler, she had the unanimous decision loss to Llanos Santos. So each of these fighters has decent skill sets for what it is, I guess. I'm a little bit heavier on the Jocelyn Edwards side. I think she has the tools to get this done. I think she's going to be better wherever this fight goes, honestly. I think she's the better striker. I think she's going to throw out the more volume. Chandler seems to be that type of fighter that just wants to walk you down, and I don't think it's going to work in this matchup. So, in this particular matchup, I'm going to go Jocelyn Edwards. Again, some of these, I'm not going to waste a lot of time because I don't have too much of a betting interest in some of these. And I think this fight's going to go the distance, and I think Edwards is going to, in the end, get her hand raised. All right, next fight is going to be a featherweight matchup between Timmy Kuwamba and Roberto Romero. This is another fight that's going to be pretty close to call. I am on the side of Timmy Kuwamba. He does have those two straight losses, but I don't think that they were bad losses. He did have the loss to Balaji Oki, and then in his last matchup, that wasn't a great performance against Lucas Almeida, but this is the kind of performance that he can bounce back in, and I look for him to get it going again. Even though Roberto Romero did come in and look impressive on short notice against David Onama, I don't know if those are kind of those first time in the octagon, putting it out and just then you don't look as good in your other matchups, or that could be a sign that he is definitely a UFC caliber fighter. We're gonna find out in this matchup, but I'm gonna go with the side of experience just a little bit more with Timmy Kuwamba. I think that he's gonna get his first win. I think he's gonna be motivated after two straight losses. So again, not betting this fight, but Timmy Kawamba is going to be the pick. Next up in the women's strawweight division, we've got Jacqueline Amarim taking on Polyana Viana. This is another interesting fight due to more the fact that Polyana Viana, we haven't seen her in a little bit in the octagon. It's been over a year since we've seen her. Her last defeat was against Jillian Robertson, which Jillian Robertson, not a bad fighter there, so nothing to fault you. And before that, Yasmin Lucindo, she's proven to be pretty tough. Looks like she is UFC caliber, so those aren't necessarily bad losses. Jacqueline Amarim, on the other hand, her latest win was against Vanessa Demopoulos, so it's a pretty decent win. That was about 7 months ago, a little over. And Corey McKenna before that by submission and ground and pound against Montserrat Conejo Ruiz. Again, not high caliber wins that she's getting here, and I probably would put the lean towards Polyana Viana for having faced higher caliber competition in the UFC to this point. But I don't like the fact that she's coming in off such a layoff, and momentum is in my mind going in Amarim's way, but again, this is one of those fights that it's probably going to be one that goes the distance. Both of them are skilled in the same spots. I don't really think that one of them is going to get over on the other. I think it is going to go the distance. So my bet on it would probably be more like in the over 2.5 range, or fight goes the distance. I just don't see a finish here, but I think Amarim is going to be the one that I'm going to choose for the pick. But I wouldn't be surprised if Viana ends up sneaking in around, so that those plus odds, if Polyana Viana, if those are looking good, it's always something to be said. Those could be the way to go. But I would look for the over 2.5 or fight goes to decision on this one because I do think it goes deep. But my pick is Jacqueline Amarim, too big of odds in order to put her in any parlay in my mind. And I definitely wouldn't take her as a straight bet. So I'm going Amarim though. Next, we got a bantamweight matchup between Cameron Simon and Malcolm Wellmaker. Malcolm Wellmaker is coming in on that off that Contender Series win where he had that knockout there, and Cameron Simon, on the other hand, is coming off two defeats, but they were to Christian Rodriguez and Peyton Talbot. He did get smoked by Peyton Talbot though, so Wellmaker, on the other hand, his competition on the Contender Series, it's always going to be questionable in my eyes. So I don't put too much stock in those. I like to see them when they're coming in. I am, but just as I said in the one of the previous matches that coming in on a two fight losing streak, I think you're going to be more motivated. I think Simon is going to be very motivated to try and get this fight where it needs to go and in his favor. But in this case, I just think Wellmaker is going to be too athletic. I think he's going to be a little bit better wherever this fight's going to go. And I don't think Simon, he likes to come in with these big looping overhands, kind of like that Dricus Duplessis style in a way, because he does train with him, obviously, so he's going to adopt some of those same training aspects of it. But in my eyes, when you come in like that against somebody like Wellmaker, he's going to knock you out. And I do think this fight's going to be one that's, I think they're going to throw down, and I think Wellmaker is going to be the one that's going to come out with his hand raised. I am going to go Malcolm Wellmaker. I haven't decided if I'm necessarily going to put a bet on this one just yet, but I'm heavily thinking about it, but kind of waiting to see how it shifts. It's going back and forth. Wellmaker right now, I still think sits at minus 120. So we'll see how that goes come fight day, because it usually ends up flipping around. If they're close, sometimes it can flip on the other way. So I'm going to hold off just for a little bit longer before I put a bet in, but you'll have to stay tuned because I'll have a bet date coming later. And if you haven't, like and subscribe, because this would be the time to hit that button and make sure that you're staying with me. Like I said, we do all kinds of picks. We got some NHL that's going to be coming out for that daily pick on NHL. We do have the MLB daily pick that's been hitting pretty regularly now. And we do have our NBA Your Way Challenge parlay. Get on that. If you haven't seen it yet, you should start following it. We've just surpassed day 3 tonight, so easy win there. But we are going to get right back into doing this card and the next fight up. Oh, and I guess if I didn't finish off my pick for the last one, maybe I did, I can't remember. It is Malcolm Wellmaker in that last fight. But we're moving right on to the next fight. We've got, let's see, Damon Blackshear taking on Alatang Haley. I will tell you right off the get-go, my pick is Damon Blackshear, and it's more due to the fact that he's kind of upped his game here in the last couple fights he's had. He's got submission wins in both of those fights against decent competition. It wasn't the highest of high levels, but Stamen and then we had Cody Gibson as well. So he had submission wins over both of them. And Cleeton Rodriguez beating Cleeton Rodriguez for Alatang Haley. It's not a bad win right there. Before that, he lost to Chris Gutierrez, which isn't a bad loss as well. He does have wins over Chad Enhaliger and Kevin Kroom, which Kevin Kroom's no longer in the UFC. I don't think Enhaliger is either. But this one, it boils down to the intangibles here. You've got 5'10" to 5'5". I think that's a huge height advantage right there, especially when you have somebody that knows how to wrestle, because the shorter man sometimes can have the advantage when it comes to wrestling, but in this case, there's not going to be an advantage there with Blackshear's skills on the ground. And then the 72.2-inch reach to 66.5 that's a big reach advantage. So I don't think there's going to be any takedowns on the side of Alatang Haley. I don't think it's going to be a fight that goes to the ground. I think Blackshear, on the other hand, possibly could get it to the ground and dominate there, or I think he's going to dominate in the stand-up as well. So I'm going Blackshear to win this fight. Next up, a bantamweight matchup between Chris Gutierrez and John Castaneda. We've broken this fight down in previous breakdowns, and it's not really going to change for me. I know it seems like the odds have kind of flipped a little bit. So if you were on Castaneda before for certain reasons, then I would probably just stick with him, because I still think that this is a fight that he can win. I don't think it's out of the realm of him getting not a finish in this one. I think this is going to be one that goes the distance. The one thing that I'm worried about with Gutierrez is going to be like the factor of the leg kicks. I think that's the one thing that I will say, but in the end of the day, I think the wrestling pressure that Castaneda is going to bring is going to be a little bit much for Chris Gutierrez. I think if Castaneda sticks to that game plan, continues to pressure and gets him up against the fence, it makes it difficult. He's got to keep it in range though, so he doesn't allow himself to get let Gutierrez get those kicks off. So he's got to stay in range and he's got to get the takedowns. But I'm picking John Castaneda to get this done. It's going to be a testy one, and I would not bet this fight anymore. I at first I was high on betting it, but not anymore. So I'm staying away from this one. But Castaneda is the pick. Right, next up, I believe we're going to be at the in the lightweight division here. We've got Evan Elder now taking on replacement Dave Young. This is going to be one that it all boils down to the experience in the UFC. Evan Elder has had experience in the UFC, not only fighting at lightweight, fighting at welterweight as well. So I'm gonna take the experience factor. Age, all I've seen him on is the contender series in the UFC as far as that goes, facing higher level competition or what I suppose is a higher level competition than what he's used to facing, and he did suffer a loss there. Evan Elder, on the other hand, he is now training at Kill Cliff. I like that. I like the way that I like his toughness, honestly. I think that he's going to be tougher. I think he's going to have experience facing higher level competition, and that's pretty much what this boils down to for me. I do have betting interest in this one, by the way. Elder was in a parlay that I had earlier. I was taking him already against Hassanzada, and then gets arrested and taken out of that fight. I was heavy on Elder then, and I don't have a bet in on him yet, but I will have a bet in on Elder, and I'm going to parlay him, I'm sure, unless those odds continue to go down, which, to be quite honest with you, I'm not really sure why they're going that way. I don't know what people are seeing with Gage Young. I don't like taking a fighter that's coming in on short notice like that, and that's exactly what's happening here. And I don't know. I don't like it, so I'm going Evan Elder in this matchup. Right, next we got a flyweight matchup. We got Matt Schnell taking on Jimmy Flick. I don't understand why the odds keep shifting away from Matt Schnell and getting better for him. I'm kind of perplexed by it, to be honest with you. I don't know why Jimmy Flick is getting so much credit. He's had two wins in the UFC, and I believe that both of those well, Cody Durden, that was to me a fluke win. So I can't put too much stock into that win. It's very, very seldom that you're going to see Cody Durden get subbed by a flying triangle. So I'm not going to, I think that was just as lucky as getting a knockout, basically. It can happen, but it's not the likely outcome there. He's had losses to Charles Johnson. That's not a bad loss. Alessandro Costa, that's not a bad loss. Nate Maness, that's not a bad loss. Um, he did get the win over Malcolm Gordon, but he's not beating high level competition. Matt Schnell, on the other hand, he is definitely not beating high level competition either. But in this case, he's got the wrestling chops. I believe that I don't think Jimmy Flick has that great of takedowns. And unless Jimmy Flick just completely wears him out and climbs all over him during this matchup, I don't see a path to victory for him. I think Matt Schnell's going to have him beat in the stand up department. I think Matt Schnell's going to even beat in the wrestling department. Maybe not the submissions, but I don't think Matt Schnell's also going to be sticking his head in getting subbed. Although, weirder things have happened. He did get subbed, I believe. Yeah, he got subbed in his last matchup against Cody Durden. And I will say Jimmy Flick does have very, very good skills as his ground game goes. But you have to get it there. And Cody Durden, I think, has better wrestling skills than Jimmy Flick. We're going to test this. Obviously, we're going to see. But I think this fight's going to stay standing, and I think Matt Schnell is going to end up knocking out Jimmy Flick. I think it's going to go quick. I think it's going to be a second round knockout. Next, we are finally to the main card, and in the first matchup, we have Ikram Aliskerov taking on Andre Muniz. Plain and simple, I'm going Ikram Aliskerov. I think he is just the better fighter. Losing to Robert Whitaker coming in on short notice, that's nothing that I'm going to put too much weight in. Robert Whitaker is one of the best in that division, in that middleweight division, and I don't think that that's anything that's not a shameful loss. And in the UFC, that's the only one he's had. He hasn't fought. He fought some decent competition, I guess. It's not the biggest. Alves and Phil Hawes. I'm not putting too much there. On the other hand, Jung Young Park getting a win to split decision up for Andre Muniz in his last matchup, and that was over a year and 4 months ago now. So you know, you got to take that into consideration. He hasn't been in the octagon a long time, and even though it's been 9 months for Alaskarov, that was, getting it back. And I think that he's going to end up bouncing back big in this one. I look for him to get the knockout. I think he's going to finish Muniz in the first round. So I. I like the under. If it's under 2.5, I definitely like that. If it's under 1.5, I'd like that as well. But I think I can put Ikram Alaskarov in a parlay, and I feel pretty confident that he gets it done. But he's one of the most confident picks of the week for me. Ikram Alaskarov gets it done by knockout in the first round. All right, here's another one that I do have some betting interest in. This is going to be a welterweight matchup. This is going to be Randy Brown taking on Nicholas Dalby. Nicholas Dalby is 40 years old. Randy Brown's 34. He's also got a 6'3" to 5'11" height advantage in this one, and a 78 to 74.5 inch reach advantage. Not to mention, he has ground skills. He has slick striking. Even though Dalby does have durability and good cardio, I think it starts to wane just a little bit as the fight goes on. And I look for Brown to put it on him in this one. This is another one. I think you're getting great odds. This is to me is parlay piece. Now, the question is, who's going to be the one to bust up your parlay this weekend? Is it going to be a fighter like Matt Schnell and where he goes out and gets subbed by Jimmy Flick, where you should have put that in the whole time and known it, that that's a submission skill that he's got and Matt Schnell is susceptible to it? Or is this going to be a matchup that he goes out there and he proves that he is the slicker striker, shouldn't even be fighting fighters of this caliber at this point in his career should be getting higher level fights than this. So I think this is a make it or break it moment for Randy Brown. I think this is like a testing ground. Hey, can you take on a fighter like Dalby and finish him, and then we'll give you some higher level fights, or are you going to remain that like journeyman, win a couple and then you're going to lose to somebody that you should beat. So it's just going to be that way that plays out. We're going to see though, but I am taking Randy Brown. I am confident that he can get this done. Let's go, Randy Brown. Do not let me down and be my parlay buster of the week. But I'm going Randy Brown, and yes, he is in parlays. Be careful. I am going to bet that this fight does not go the distance, but this is going to be Michelle Pereira and Abus Magomedov facing off in a middleweight matchup. This is going to be, I believe this is going to be a throwdown matchup. They're going to come out and they're going to swing. And if it goes long, I still think Pereira can win this fight. I do think he's going to end up winning in the first round by knockout. I think these guys are going to throw down. I have to think that Pereira is motivated to get that win back that he lost his last match out. He lost his first main event of his UFC career against Anthony Hernandez. Magomedov, on the other hand, is on that two-fight winning streak, but it's against Warley Alves and Bruno Ferreira. That's not a bad one. You got the triangle choke there, but I don't think that you're going to be able to get Pereira to the ground one, and I don't think that you're going to be able to choke him out. So this is going to be a stand-up matchup, and I think that Pereira hits harder. I think he's the bigger fighter, more muscular, and can put more behind his punches. And I think if he wants to get it to the ground, he could possibly get it there as well. So I'm going Michelle Pereira. The weirdness kind of scares me sometimes. I'm not betting this fight right now. If I do, it's the fight does not go to the distance because I think these guys have got something to prove this time out, and I think there's going to be a finish. But Michelle Pereira is the pick. Main card, we have Giga Chikadze taking on David Onama. This is going to be a lightweight matchup. We're kind of used to seeing Giga Chikadze fighting more in the featherweight division, so he's moving up, but he's not undersized for that division by any means. He's got a 15-4 record. David Onama coming in at 13-2. He is coming off that last win to Roberto Romero, as we saw earlier. We talked about Giga Chikadze, on the other hand, is coming off that decision loss to Arnold Allen. We've got him at plus 150, minus 185 for David Onama right now. Giga Chikadze's 36, which in these terms is not that bad. Again, now you never can tell, honestly. And he has had a little bit of a layoff, 8 months on the layoff there, 4 months compared to Onama. So Onama's staying a little bit more active than Giga Chikadze is right now, which is kind of to be expected. Not a lot of height or reach advantage between either of them. So this is one of those toss-up matches. And to be quite honest with you, odds swinging so far in David Onama's direction kind of does scare me off, but I do have him in a parlay piece. I'm not going to give out a bunch of these bets and go into who I picked and who I put with who right now. I'll get into that in a later segment, but right now I am going to go with David Onama. One, because I've already picked him and I've already put him in a parlay. So at worst, you might as well stick with your pick now and go with it. But I think Giga Chikadze, if those odds keep going like that, I would possibly look at that plus 3.5 or something along those lines, because I don't know that David Onama is going to finish Giga, and I don't think Chikadze can finish David Onama. So you may be at a stalemate there, and I don't think either one of them necessarily gets over on each other from the ground. So if David Onama doesn't knock him out and it does go the distance, then I think Giga might have stolen around. So that plus 3.5 wouldn't look so bad. But my pick in this fight right now is David Onama. All right, next up. And this is obviously going to be the last time that we're going to see Anthony Smith fighting in the light heavyweight division in the UFC. He is taking on Ming Yang Zhang, which I don't. If you're talking about a retirement fight, I know Anthony Smith likes to just fight the top fighters. He doesn't want to take downgrades in competition, and I don't. I think this is definitely a tough fight. I think that Ming Yang Zhang is as advertised now. I'm not overly impressed with the way with who he's beating, but I am pretty impressed with how he's coming into these matchups. He's coming in looking ready. He's coming in very aggressive, which sometimes can be to your detriment. But at this stage in Anthony Smith's career, it's not necessarily the age that I worry about. It's the longevity in his career. It's 37 and 21 record that really scares me away from picking him at this point. I know his losses are against high level fighters, but you're still losing, and you winning against Vitor Petrino, I think, was again along the same lines as Jimmy Flick winning that submission that I was talking about earlier, where he pulled that one off against Cody Durden. I think it was as much of a fluke as that was at this point in your career. And Ryan Spann, yeah, that was a split decision. That was not that bad, but it's still, we're looking at over a year, almost 2 years ago at this point, and a lot has changed by then, and you've had a lot of fights, gone through a lot. I think this is going to just be a matchup that I hope they don't carry you out of the octagon, to be quite honest with you. I hope you at least hold your own, but Ming Yang Zhang is known for finishing fights. He's going to come in aggressive. He's going to try and get this done and put a statement on his name. And I think that he's going to be able to do it. I think he's the bigger fighter, the more aggressive fighter at this stage in his career. Not saying that he has more skills on the ground, but his grappling is not bad. We just haven't seen a lot of it. He's very aggressive. He can take a punch, and I think he's going to be able to stop the takedowns that Anthony Smith's going to put forward. And I think it's going to be a bad night on retirement time for Anthony Smith. So I'm picking Ming Yang Zhang. It's probably going to be a parlay piece because I feel pretty confident that he gets it done. Next up, and ooh, it's time to get hyped for this one. We've got the main event. I cannot wait to watch this matchup. In all honesty, I wish I could fast forward and just watch it first and then just kind of flip through the other ones, because this matchup has me really, really wondering which way this is going to go. And I don't think either fighter is going to necessarily look bad. I think if Carlos Prates does lose, then he's not going to lose stock. He's fighting a higher level fighter than he has faced before. So he's stepping way up in competition. And if he gets the win, then the UFC has another fighting nerd cash cow. So we have Ian Machado Garry taking on Carlos Prates in the welterweight division. This is going to have some major line movement implications here. If Ian Machado Garry wins, he's definitely going to solidify that top spot up there and possibly set himself up for a contender series match or a contender matchup either coming up or maybe an interim title shot coming up. Who knows how this plays out? He's taking on Carlos Prates, one of the fighting nerds, 21-6 record. He is on an 11 fight winning streak. You know him best for wanting those cigarettes after he gets his knockouts. Listen, I am a huge Carlos Prates fan. I love watching him fight. Love how he fights. I love the aggressiveness. Love the way he comes in. I'm not an Ian Machado Garry hater by any means, but I'm not a huge fan. He's growing on me. I don't necessarily get the whole cringe as much as a lot of people do. I still get that it's there, but it doesn't bother me as much as it does some people. I don't really like you can do whatever you want outside of fighting. I'm just worried about what you're doing in that octagon right now. Ian Machado Garry, his only loss coming to Shavkat. I'm not going to take anything away from you because you had a lot of good moments in that fight. Even though if Shavkat was injured, that yeah, you got to take that into consideration. But you have to wonder, do you think Shavkat could beat Prates? And if you do, then do you think that he would knock him out, or do you think he would finish him? And if you do, then you have to kind of look at Gary in a different light and think, okay, wait, Gary avoided damage from a fighter who is a known finisher. Pratis is a known finisher. I'm not saying that you can't get the best of somebody at any given moment, but I love Ian Machado Gary's confidence in what he's putting out there. I love the fact that his movement, he does not take a lot of damage. He puts out a lot as far as his significant strikes go, and his output is high. It's a little bit higher than what Carlos Prates is sitting at, but Carlos Prates gets hit a lot, and he comes in sometimes with his hands down and likes to intimidate you and walk you down. I don't think that he's going to be able to do that in this case, and I think Gary is constantly improving his game. He's taking a step up every time we see him, and I think this is going to be a next step in the evolution. I think he's going to take the Fighting Nerds stock down in this one, unfortunately. I love the Fighting Nerds. I love Carlos Prates. I'm a fan of both of these fighters, and I think they both bring something great to the octagon that I love watching. Even though Gary's more of a decisionator, I can deal with it. He's exciting to watch, and sometimes he does have that potential. If it's a striking matchup, it can definitely be exciting, and I think this is going to be a very exciting matchup. I am picking boom. Ian Machado Gary by decision. I think this is going to be a fight. If you're going to pick it, and you don't want to go straight up Ian Machado Gary, then maybe I love those little parlays where you can go over 1.5 rounds, skew it, and then take Ian Machado Gary too, because I think this is going to go over 1.5 rounds at least. So I'm thinking about putting a bet in there, depending on what the numbers are, and then an Ian Machado Gary by decision, and possibly we may do a little parlay and put him in it as well. I don't know what's going to happen when it rolls around. I'm waiting on the odds. I don't think that you have to put these in immediately. So I'm holding off. I do have a few bets in. And since you stuck with me, if you have stuck with me this long, I will go ahead and give you what these bets are. Let's see. Let me bring up my I'm going on DraftKings right now, and right now I have two bets in. Now, one of these bets has already canceled. I had Evan Elder money line, I had Randy Brown money line, and I had Zing Ming Yang money lines at minus. It was I'm not sure what it was, but right now it's setting because Evan Elder dropped out. It's at minus 142, just with Ming Yang Zhang or Zhang Ming Yang and Randy Brown. Those are a minus 142. It's not much of a return there, but it took my parlay away. And then I do have another one that I put in. It's a three-pick parlay. I got plus 179 on this one. It's Jocelyn Edwards money line. It is Damon Blackshear money line and David Onama money line. I got Onama at minus 180, Blackshear at minus 340, and Edwards at minus 258. I think since then they've all three jumped up. Maybe Onama hasn't. I would have to go back and recheck him. But no matter. That's the way I'm going with my picks and my breakdown. I hope you have enjoyed. Thank you for sticking with me. Those are my bets as of right now. I'm going to have more bets coming up. I'll try and get those in Thursday, Friday at the latest. But thanks for sticking with me. This is Be All in Sports. I will see you next time. Peace out.